Radio check, loud and clear, loud and clear. Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome back along to the channel. We are now 30 minutes away from the start of free practice 1 here in Zandvoort in the Netherlands, and appreciate everyone tuning back in. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been the summer break. We've had 3 weekends of no Formula 1, but we're back and we have got a lot of action to look forward to this weekend. No sprint weekend this time round. It will just be FP1, 2 and 3. However, the forecast has got a 25% chance of rain today. We've got mixed conditions all weekend long, and Max Verstappen, I think, is going to be in the fight this weekend for the race win. I'll get onto my reasoning behind that a little bit later on, but we'll have 72 laps of racing around here in Zandvoort, and a lot to look forward to. Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hello, Scientist RP, Albin, Darves. Oh, you've ordered the Simply Lovely shirt. Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, the link in the pinned message in the chat is the new merch that I've come out with. Or if you just want to search it up, it's slipstream.clothing, and it will, you can have a look at all of the merch. I haven't done all of the drivers just yet, but there are quite a few drivers up there right now, so go ahead and check it out if you're interested. Very much does help out the channel. Alright, any news on Ferrari upgrades? Well, I'll look through the sort of the FIA documents revealing which teams have upgrades, which teams don't, but I suspect in the second half of this season, when all of the teams are now focusing on 2026, it's highly unlikely that we will be seeing upgrades from the Ferrari team, from any of these teams really. Maybe, if we look at the Constructors Championship here up on the screen, you can see that Williams, Aston Martin, Sauber and RB, the teams in 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, they're all relatively close to each other, and one good race could put them up in 5th position. So maybe these teams have an incentive to say, bring an extra upgrade package and get up into 5th place, because that is a lot more prize money. Like when you go from 8th position to 5th position in the Constructors, you gain about 20 million euros or so in prize money, and the teams might compromise 2026 in order to get that extra 20 million. So we could see some upgrades from the midfield teams. I don't think Mercedes or Ferrari are really going to be battling it out for the championship. Like, yes, they are close, but either of the teams could get second or third, and it wouldn't really matter. That is, I don't know why Gasly's just gone up there. Oh yeah, it's because I'm playing last year's free practice data. I'll get rid of that and go back to the Hungaroring. But yeah, regardless, what was I saying? That Ferrari and Mercedes don't really care about the extra 6-7 million or maybe 5 million that they're going to get from coming second instead of third, and then much rather focus on 2026. So, we will see a battle between second and third for Ferrari and between Ferrari and Mercedes. However, I don't think upgrade packages will be involved for that battle. And a quick look back at the Drivers' Championship, since at the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix, we have Oscar Piastri 284 points, Lando Norris 275 points. So the points gap there is 9 points between those two drivers. And then, of course, Max Verstappen is in third position with 187 points. He is not really that far ahead of George Russell. I mean, let me know in the chat, do you think George Russell is going to come out ahead of Max Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship this season? Because, there will be some races that the Red Bull will be good at, that Max will be good at, but I can't say that it's going to be every single race, and we could see George Russell leapfrog Max Verstappen. He's got more podiums than Max Verstappen. He has got one less win. As you can see there, Russell with 6 podiums, Max with only 5. But yeah, let me know what you think. All right. Let's see. Folks, what did you guys get up to in your summer break? I got relatively bored, to be honest. I was making the merch and stuff, but apart from that, I was kind of waiting for Formula 1 to restart again. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Put the merch link in the description. Oh yeah, I probably should do that, shouldn't I? Will we see a battle between Max Russell and Leclerc for third place in the championship? I think we will, but it won't be a battle that they really care about. Again, I mean, Max definitely won't care about it. Max will just be like, oh, why am I battling for third place when I could be battling for first place in the championship? So it's... yeah, Max isn't really going to care. I think Russell might try to get third place in the championship. Same for Leclerc, but in the end, at the end of the day, all of the drivers are just looking for that first place spot. They really don't care who comes second and third. Can you show us a lap of the circuit? Yes, I will. And what else? What are your thoughts on the Cadillac driver lineup? I think it's fantastic, really. They have Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas, both drivers that have been in Formula One for so long, and they have got so much experience, which I think is perfect for a new team in Formula One. There are a lot of things in each individual Formula One team that they do to ensure their success. The times when Mercedes were destroying everyone in 2014, 15, 16, Valtteri Bottas won't have the knowledge of those years, but he will have 17, 18, 19, and Mercedes were just as dominant then. So that inside knowledge that Bottas will have, the inside knowledge that Perez will have, will be very, very critical, because, there are some things that are not so obvious to, your standard engineer. For example, let's say, simulating all of the lap times and all of the different tire conditions might be what you initially think to do, but then Bottas or Perez will come in and say, oh yeah, this is not how we did it at Red Bull, this is what we did. And then that little piece of inside information really helps the team progress and hit the ground running. So the fact that they've signed them early on as well, so that means Bottas and Perez. I think Perez for sure will now be directly working with the Cadillac team. I think Bottas, as he is still a reserve driver for Mercedes, he won't be able to, give all of that inside information immediately, because Mercedes will say, oh, you're not allowed to talk to Cadillac until the season's over, which is fair enough. But Sergio Perez, he'll be allowed to talk to Cadillac, and he'll be relaying as much information as he possibly can to make sure that the Cadillac team next year will be a good team. So I think that's fantastic. Of course, some people would say that it would be good to see some rookies on the field as well, because we had two new slots open up in Formula One. For so long, it's been only 20 drivers on the grid and 20 of the best drivers, and we haven't had as many rookies come through. Of course, this year has been really good for rookies, but not every single year. We would have liked to see maybe some more rookies come through, but for a team like Cadillac, they need experience. They have the money to throw around. They have the money to pay the contract for Sergio Perez, to pay the contract for Valtteri Bottas, so you might as well take the experience that you get with it. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Face reveal at 200k. Yeah. I just decided I was having to think about it over the summer break, and I thought, why not? So if we do hit 200k, we'll do a face reveal, as it says there on the top right of the screen. No merch for the Indian fans. Unfortunately, I haven't managed to figure out shipping to every single country in the world, so I will try and get that sorted out as soon as possible. But unfortunately, if your country is not listed there in the delivery options, then I cannot ship there as of right now. So I do apologise. Okay, yeah, I mean, I might do a face reveal. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a webcam on for every single stream, but I'm definitely going to do a face reveal, and then we'll see how it goes from there, really. Yeah, all right. So let's go through the onboard lap here. Some of you fans may be happy to see that I have finally bought F1 25, so I'm playing the new version of the game here. I'm driving the Williams car, and yeah, well, let's go around a lap of Zandvoort. So we've got, of course, the final corner here. You just tap the brakes here, and main thing is just to get a really good run, because you're flat for the next around 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds or so. And you just need to get a very nice run down onto the start finish straight up into 8th gear. You open the DRS flap, of course, and then super late braking into turn number 1, because it's very similar to Suzuka number 1, where you can start turning and braking at the same time and brake really deep into the corner, then flick the car to the right. You go over the crest, you lose the rear end a little bit there, and then you take the wide line through turns number 3, because that is actually the quicker line. The camber really helps you out. Now it's a very fast flowing narrow section through 5 and 6. It's flat through these corners. Turn number 7, a tiny little lift, maybe a dab over the brakes if you're not feeling as confident, and then you go through in towards 8, where another dab of the brakes, and then 9, you're braking and steering at the same time. Very easy to lock up, and you make your way through turn number 9. You've got a DRS detection point here just before you hit hit the brakes for 10, and then you've got a long straight with a DRS zone for hopefully an overtaking opportunity into turn number 11. And you're super late onto the brakes, brake at the start of the curb. You don't want to go all the way to the left there on the exit of turn number 11, because you will actually compromise your line through 12, and then you've got turn number 13 again. Same thing, just a smooth run through there, carry as much speed as you possibly can, and then hug the inside line, and now try and find the area with the least bumps. The least bumps means the least scratching your floor on the ground, and also the quickest speed down the straight. So that is sort of the way that you drive around Zandvoort. All right, yeah, that is the onboard lap. Okie dokes, let me just move that back into the corner, and yeah, it's a pretty good lap of Zandvoort. Unfortunately, I'm not really that quick on the F1 25 game, to be honest, because I am used to driving the F1 21 game, so all of my speed and like braking points and turn-in points are all sort of mirrored to the 21 games. I'm trying to drive the 25 car as if it's only as quick as the 21 car, and yeah, I'm quite slow. Okay, Max is going to blast the national anthem so the other drivers will become deaf so you can win the race fair and square. Well, you see, what I think is going to happen for Max to win this race is this circuit is very similar to Suzuka. It's very narrow, it's very technical, there's not much margin for error, there's loads of grass everywhere, the curbs are fairly violent, and you have to be absolutely perfect in your execution of the lap, otherwise you're going to lose heaps of time, because because a lot of these corners flow from one into the next, and if you make even one mistake in one of the earlier corners, you're losing time for the next 3-4 corners, and it really does compromise you. So I think if Max could do what he did at Suzuka and hook together a perfect lap in qualifying, then what he will have is a perfect opportunity just to hold on to the lead of the race from the front, because it is difficult to overtake around here in Zandvoort. You've got a super long straight and a very long DRS zone as well to go with it as the main straight, so you could get an overtake into turn number 1, but Max Verstappen knows how to defend there, and yeah, so there is a real opportunity for Max to win this race. He probably doesn't have the fastest car again, but he's done it before, so maybe he could do it again. But that being said, the McLarens are dangerously quick. They've just been getting quicker and quicker as the season's been going on. The Red Bull relatively has been getting slower and slower. So what happened at Suzuka, I think, which was the second or the third race of the season, may not happen again here in Zandvoort. Of course, Max will have his home fans, his home Dutch fans cheering him on, and that'll give him an extra little boost, but who knows what will happen. Okay. Yeah, we've got 17 minutes now till the start of the session. Folks, do let me know what you think is going to be happening in this weekend's Grand Prix. We have got rain predicted for today, a little bit of rain predicted for tomorrow and Sunday as well. In fact, let me just bring up the weather forecast. So the forecast for today, as you can see there is a 20% chance of rain for free practice 2, and there's around 15% chance of rain for free practice 1. So we could be seeing some raindrops here and there sprinkled about, but I don't think it's going to be as heavy as what we saw last year around in FP1 for the Dutch Grand Prix last year, because last year it was super duper wet for the entire free practice 1. The drivers went out on full wets, and I think today we'll just be seeing intermediate tyres if the rain does fall. Okay. Yeah, let's get rid of the weather here. But again, for Saturday, the weather looks very, very similar to this. I know it says sunny there on the icon, but there's still a 20 or 25% chance of rain, and the same thing for Sunday. So it's just very mixed conditions. There has also been a warning by the Netherlands Weather Service that there's going to be extremely strong winds, and that's typically something that we do see around here in Zandvoort. Zandvoort is right next to the beach, and because of that, you're right next to the beach, you get very strong winds coming in from the sea, and that could play a role in things. If the drivers get the wind on their side during their quali lap, that can really help them out. If you get a wrong gust of wind at the wrong time, you lose grip and you spin out, and that could cause some issues as well. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes for the drivers. today, and we'll keep an eye out on these wind conditions. Currently it was saying 13 miles per hour, but it tends to be very gusty around the seaside in Zandvoort. Okay, yeah, what else have we got to talk about then? I mean, we could talk about all of these drivers here, couldn't we? So let's go from the bottom then. Why don't we? From the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix, we had Oliver Bearman, who retired, unfortunately. He's had a pretty good start to the season, really. You know, it's not been exceptionally outstanding, but it hasn't been bad either. He's been keeping up with Ocon fairly well, and his race pace isn't too shabby. So, you know, he has had some small mistakes here and there. I think in Silverstone, where he spun himself and his teammate around, probably wasn't his best moments, but you know, he's going to try and improve from that. And I would say that Bearman is looking to be a solid midfield driver for now. You know, he hasn't shown the glimpses of true performance that we've seen from Isaac Hadjar or maybe Gabriel Bortoletto. But, you know, Bearman, at least he's finding his feet in Formula One. And maybe, you know, next season he can do something a little bit more special. Very similar to Oscar Piastri. You know, Piastri in his first season of Formula One, he was slower than Lando Norris, but he was consistently improving, consistently had his head down. And race after race, weekend after weekend, his pace slowly built up and he was there to compete. So I'm sure Bearman could do a very, very similar thing. Okay. What's happening with the speed thing? It's a 2024 season. Yeah. Currently, the data is a mishmash of the 24 and the 25 season. Once we are, 10 minutes or 8 minutes away from the start of the session, it all gets updated to the 25 season, and we'll be good to go. What name did you pick for your clothing brand? It is. It's called Slipstream. It's the pinned chat comment. If you click on the link, you can go ahead and check out some of the merch and have a look. All right. SHW was Robert Shortsman. He was driving in 2024 at the Dutch Grand Prix in Free Practice 1. I don't think we're going to have any rookies this weekend in FP1, but let's wait and see. Okay. What else have we got going on then? Yeah, so we've talked about Bearman. Let's talk about Gasly and Colapinto. Alpine, you know, their season hasn't been so great. If we look at the Constructors' Championship, their performances have been, back of the pack. They're in 10th position with 20 points, and the majority of those points have come from Pierre Gasly. Colapinto really hasn't been performing well, and Gasly is doing an alright job in a car that hasn't got much race pace. You know, he's been quite often getting it through into Q3, which is astounding, really, but his race pace isn't there, and that's purely because the car's race pace isn't there. So, you know, he's just hoping for better things really at this point. And I'm sure that the team is actually listening to his development feedback rather than Colapinto's. You know, when Gasly goes in the simulator, drives the 26 car, then they're going to be listening to him saying, oh, if Gasly says, oh, we need a little bit more rear downforce or a little bit more rear stability, then Gasly will be, and they'll listen to Gasly's feedback rather than Colapinto's, because, you know, Colapinto just hasn't got the experience really. All right, you're a F1 fan. Thanks for the donation, buddy. Very much is appreciated, and Mark Ruha as well. Thanks for the donation. They're really coming through. Very much is appreciated, folks. And also, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It really does help out the channel, the algorithm, and you know, with the season restarting again, it would be a real big help if you could all hit the like button and get the channel back in the YouTube algorithm sites. Okay. Are you going to make a Piastri t-shirt design? I will be making a Piastri t-shirt design. I just haven't got around to it. I couldn't find a nice picture for Piastri, that's the thing, because a lot of the pictures are copyrighted, so you have to find one that isn't, and then, I was just having a bit of trouble finding a nice picture for Piastri. But if you can find a nice picture for him, be sure to send it to my Instagram. It's F1_gamer_5, and should have the Piastri design done by this week. Okay, talking about Yuki Tsunoda now. Tsunoda hasn't been so great, but neither is the Red Bull car. And I think it's very, very, very safe to say now that the Red Bull car is not very drivable. You know, Sergio Perez has come out and said it. Liam Lawson has said the same thing. Tsunoda said the same thing. Red Bull have admitted it. So we're not really expecting much from Tsunoda, but I also don't expect Red Bull to switch him around at any point now. We're past the mid-season mark, and I think Tsunoda will be staying in that car till the end of the season, and also in 2026, because in 2026 they'll have a little bit more of a reasonable car to drive, which hopefully Tsunoda will be able to understand and drive a little bit better, leading to we'll actually be able to get a representative look of where Tsunoda is compared to Verstappen, because in this car, it's very sided towards Verstappen. Verstappen's only the really one that can drive it, and everyone else is struggling. So when it's a little bit more fair, a little bit more equal, we'll be able to get a real look at what Tsunoda can do, and then Red Bull will make their decision whether to demote him, swap Liam Lawson in, or maybe swap Isaac Hadjar in. But I think at least till the midpoint of 2026, Yuki Tsunoda will be driving at the Red Bull team. Okay. FIA documents. Yeah, well, let's see if the data has come through for 2025 just yet. And then let's have a look. Give it a quick refresh. Yeah, we'll have the data coming through in about 50 seconds or so. Once that's done, I'll get the FIA documents up. Your thoughts on the Papaya domination? Well, actually, there was a very interesting stat that came out. If you removed the McLarens from the championship, so you just ignored all of their results and you moved everyone up accordingly. So, if it was a McLaren 1-2 and Russell came third, then Russell would win the race and you'd just get rid of the McLarens. If you did that for every single race in the season, then we would have a championship battle between Leclerc, Verstappen and Russell, and it would have been super close. It would have been a matter of like 5 or 10 points between the three drivers, and that would have been fantastic. But you've also got to admit the battle between Norris and Piastri currently in the first half of the season hasn't been all that exciting. We've had some squabbles here and there, some close calls like in Hungary where Piastri nearly locked up and crashed into his teammate, but there hasn't been the pure head-to-head battles that we did see with Verstappen and Hamilton back in 2021. So, it's good that we've got a championship battle, but it's a little bit underwhelming with the fact that it hasn't been as exciting as we would have hoped for. But, going into the second half of the season and the drivers only having, 9 points between them, I think it's a good recipe for some action. And they both got 12 podiums. Oscar Piastri's got one more win than his teammate. But apart from that, it has been pretty good running for both McLarens. I think Lando Norris has got a little bit more lucky than Piastri has, but to be honest, in every single championship, there is an element of luck. If something didn't happen, if Hamilton didn't overtake Glock, he'd have one less championship. If if Hamilton didn't get the engine failure, then he would have got one more championship. If Prost had done one certain thing in one race, he would have won the championship. There's a lot of if, buts, and maybes, and there's always luck involved in a championship battle. But that's just the way it goes. Both drivers can get affected by it. It's just, I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah. Okay. 8 minutes now. Okay, we should have the data come through then. Yeah, we do. All right, fantastic. So let's just get that over to the qualifying mode. All right, and I'll get rid of the other data and then we should be good to go for free practice 1. Fantastic. All right. So, yeah, we haven't got any rookies driving this free practice 1 session. I think they just want all the drivers to get back into the rhythm of driving and stuff like that after a bit of a break, bit of a hiatus. And, that seems fair enough, doesn't it? The circuit map will be also loading shortly, folks. Don't worry. Yeah, we'll have the data's just gone blank for about 10-15 seconds, and then we'll be back. And then I'll also get up the FIA documents to see who has got upgrades, who hasn't got upgrades, and that will be nice and interesting. Alrighty then. It's taken a while for this data to get synced up, but yeah. Alright, there we go. Let's have a look at the FIA documents then. Car submission presentation. So we've got no upgrades for McLaren, no upgrades for Ferrari. Red Bull have got a slightly modified front wing. Then we have got no upgrades for Mercedes, nothing for Aston Martin. Slight tweak to the rear brake duct for Alpine. Haas have got no upgrades. Racing Bulls no upgrades. Williams no upgrades. And Kick Sauber have got a slightly tweaked rear brake duct as well. So Alpine and Kick Sauber have got slightly tweaked rear brake duct, and Red Bull have got a slightly tweaked front wing. But apart from that, it is all standard. Everyone's just using the same cars that they had before. Okie dokes. Yeah. So we are now 6 minutes away from the start of free practice 1. We'll be having the data coming through for the track map very shortly. And yeah, we've got 1,500 people tuned in. Very much is appreciated. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. Really does help out the channel and the algorithm. And we'll be getting underway shortly. Where can we watch it on TV? You can watch it if you get Surfshark VPN using the link in the description. You can join an Austrian VPN, so search ORF and you'll be able to watch it from there. Okay. Do you think Oscar will win the World Drivers' Championship? I mean, it's a little bit too early to tell. If you ask me who I think, well, I think Piastri's got more points. He's been leading it for a little bit longer, and I just think that Piastri is a little bit more calm and collected than Norris. But you know, sometimes Norris has got that extra bit of speed. You know, he has got more experience in Formula One. He's driven the McLaren car for longer. He's led the development a little bit more to make it a little bit more ideal for him. So maybe it will be Oscar Piastri or maybe it'll be Lando Norris. I really can't tell. It's too early to know. All right. Yeah, we got radio check there from Kimi Antonelli. Radio check loud and clear. Looks good, and as you can see there, the wind conditions, it is 11.5 kilometers per hour of wind blowing from the southwesterly direction. So yeah, it's quite windy out there in Zandvoort. The air temperature 20 degrees, track temperature 25 degrees, not too hot though. Pirelli have brought a step softer tyres this weekend compared to previous weekends, so they will, we'll be seeing ever so slightly more tyre wear, but it should still be a one-stop race. The other thing that has changed this weekend is that the fact that the pit lane speed limit has gone up from 60 kilometers an hour to 80 kilometers an hour. So that's going to reduce the pit stop time for the drivers, and that should also help. Should also just add to the action, and we should maybe get some more pit stops. I really don't know what's going on here with all of the data. It's glitching out a little bit, but we should be fine once the session gets underway. All of the data should be okay. All right. And at least unlike the last 3 years, there's actually some competition. Yeah, that's very, very true. No upgrades this weekend, folks. And, to be honest, for the majority of the season, right till the end now, we're going to be seeing very, very minor upgrades, if any whatsoever. So it's not really too much of an issue. What race do you think Ferrari will win this year? I don't know. I mean, it'd be great to see them win Monza. That's always it's always nice to see Ferrari win Monza, but I don't really know what's going to happen. In Hungary, they set the car up a little bit too low, and they were risking a DNF from Charles Leclerc. That's what it came out to, at least. If you were a Ferrari fan, I haven't listened to the news for a while. Essentially what happened was Ferrari set up the car too low in quali, and Charles Leclerc had a really good lap and then, got pole position. But the issue was his car skidded across the ground too much. So during the race, what they had to do was increase the tyre pressures of the car so it would sort of sit a little bit higher up in the air, less scraping of the floor on the ground, and he wouldn't get disqualified. But when you increase tyre pressures, you reduce grip and you also reduce downforce. So yeah, there was it was just very unfortunate, really, for Charles Leclerc. The car was set up wrong, and it gave everyone sort of a false sense of hope that the race was actually going to be good for them, which it wasn't. So yeah, just Ferrari things, to be honest with you, just Ferrari things. All right then, folks, we are 2 minutes away from the start of the session. We'll be getting the cars going out onto the track nice and early. We do have 3 practice sessions here, but it will, regardless, be a nice bit of action. I don't know why the track map isn't loading today, but we'll see what happens. I'm new to F1. I've heard that the Zandvoort track is sloped. Can you explain that to me? Yeah, sure. I mean, let's get up the onboard of the circuit. Why not? So here we go. Let me just replay it. Okay. So the onboard of the circuit, as you can see here, is the sloped part of the circuit. Is the majority of it is the final corner here. You tap the brakes and you can see the car is sort of at an angle to the road, well, at an angle to the horizon. You tilt it over like in NASCAR really, where the circuit is banked at a huge angle. And it just helps the cars go around really, and it's camber angle. That's the official term for it. Camber of the circuit. It helps the cars go around, and this circuit is very much like a roller coaster. You go over this little crest here, you lose the rear of the car as you go over, then you go down the hill, up the hill again as you take the optimal racing line, and then you go down the crest and you lose a little bit of grip there. So very much like a roller coaster, and yeah, that's sort of the sloped part of the Zandvoort circuit, to be honest. Yeah, pretty great lap, to be honest. And it's a lot of action, very difficult to overtake, but if you do plan an overtake nicely, it is so satisfying. And the battles that we do also get here are also really good. I don't know why it says VSC deployed, but there's a double yellow at turn 1 and turn 2 that is causing the yellow flag that's caused a VSC. That's a little bit strange, but we are, 10 seconds away from the start of the session. So that's a lap of Zandvoort. I'll take you through another proper lap, a little bit more detailed later on, but for now we should be getting underway. The pit lane exit is closed here, folks. The virtual safety car has been deployed, and there are cars waiting at the end of the circuit, but there are some issues. And there we go, pit lane exit is open. All right, so hopefully now we do get the track map loading. That would be nice, but F1 Gamer, I got a 1 in 300 Tops F1 card for Borsizer. Oh, that's very nice. Congratulations. Alright, let's see if this track map is going to load, because it is really not load. It doesn't look like it's loading today, folks. That is quite unfortunate. Okay, well, I'm going to see if we can get something figured out here to get the track map. But as of right now, we haven't got the track map up on the screen. We've got 3,000 people tuned in. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and bear with me while we have these technical issues. Unfortunately, I can't do anything on my side. It's the data system itself is broken, so that is sort of what's causing the problem here. And I'm going to do my best to keep refreshing it. Hopefully, we can get some data coming through. But I will carry on commentating as if the session's going on normally, and you guys can get a bit of a look into what's actually happening. So we've got DRS enabled, all the drivers driving around, they're out on medium tyres, just making sure all the cars work. All of the parts have been disassembled in a factory over the summer break. They've now they've been transported to Zandvoort. In fact, Mercedes is the first team to transport all of their car parts and all of their hospitality stuff on electric trucks this weekend. No other team has done that, but if you guys are interested, Mercedes have got electric trucks now, and they're driving them across Europe with their Formula 1 car parts. And regardless, all of these parts have now been assembled. The team's all slowly crawling out the garage, making sure everything works, checking all the sensors are giving the accurate readings, what they are expecting, and shifting through the gears, making sure all the gears work, and all of the stuff like that. They'll be coming back into the pits once their install lap is done, checking everything is good to go, and then they'll start for the session. Okay, and yeah, I'm just going to give the data a quick refresh again. Let's see if that helps, but no, as of right now, nothing is really helping. Yeah. Apologies here, folks. Apologies. Unrelated, but I'm sick right now. It's distracting from how poorly I feel. Well, thank you. Hope you enjoy the coverage and hope you feel a little bit better as the weekend goes on. Nico Hulkenberg first across the line, a 1 minute 15.6. Really nice job from him. All right, let's. I'm going to do my best here to get the data back up and running, but as of right now, it is broken. Yeah, I really cannot figure anything out here. So anyway, let's continue on. We've got the Ferraris making their way out onto the circuit. Piastri and Norris go top of the times, a 1:14.1 from them. Hadjar is purple in the middle sector. Really, nobody's pushing as of right now. Track conditions are 26 degrees Celsius. It's not going to be particularly hot out there in Zandvoort. Nobody's really pushing. But they're getting a feel for the circuit, and they're getting to understand the rainy conditions as well, the windy conditions in FP2. It is heavy rain forecast, folks. heavier rain at least. It's not going to be light rain, but it's also not going to be a thunderstorm or anything like that. Something in between. And that's sort of what we're expecting from FP2. As of right now, it is dry out on the circuit, and there's a little bit of sun peeking through the clouds. And yeah. All right, looking at the speed traps here, we got Alex Albon quickest through the speed traps, 321 kilometers per hour, and yeah. The map is down on the other streamers. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's not a problem on my computer. It's more so a problem on the Formula One system. And we've got $1 billion sport here, but again, the FIA or whoever it is cannot figure out how to get the system to work, even though that they had the system working before. So, very, very confusing indeed, folks. Very, very confusing indeed. Right. What I'm going to do is... Yeah, see, the thing is, I can get the map to partially load, but then it's not really going to matter because it's just going to disappear again. So, overlay a JPEG while we're waiting. Yeah, actually, I could just keep my I could just keep my lap playing while we get the data back. But yeah, the live timing is broken, or as Lando Norris would say, it's broken. And hopefully it comes through later on, but as of right now, it is not doing so good. So yeah, we'll just have the hot lap playing, and I'll also just mute it for now, so you don't have to listen to the whiny noise of the... Well, the engine noise is actually all right, but I was thinking about this over the summer break, and if anyone has got any suggestions to why Formula One can't do this, do let me know. But why don't the FIA just put in a rule saying your cars have to be louder than this volume? Like, you can get a microphone, you can measure how loud the V10's cars were from like 2005 or whatever, and then the FIA could literally just put a rule in the rule book for 2026 and say your cars have to be louder than this, otherwise you will get disqualified. Yeah, I really don't see what the problem is, because the teams will have to, design custom exhaust systems to make sure that they're loud enough, but that could be pretty cool, no? Surely it would be nicer to have just a bunch of noise. But I guess we'll just wait and see. Piastri currently top of the times, though, a 1 minute 12.6 from him, and he is a 10th clear of Max Verstappen, 3/10 clear of Lando Norris, but really not much to look into now. Tsunoda's the only driver out on hard tyres as of right now, and he's getting a feel for the conditions on those tyres. In these cold conditions, maybe they're going to work, maybe they're not. That's what they're looking to know, because it looks like we could have similar conditions on race day on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll sound bad, I'm not sure. But the thing is, there are also good-sounding V4 engines. So the Ducati have V4 engines. I think the majority of the MotoGP grid actually have V4 engines on their motorbikes. And they sound pretty good. So I don't really know. They probably could have good-sounding V4 engines. Folks, I will try and get the data to come through and, show us the track map, but as of right now, it is a little bit broken, and nothing is really working. So, yeah, I do apologize, but yeah, the track map is broken, so... Like, I can do this and it'll bring it up, but that's not really, because it's not got the drivers on it, so that's the big problem. I can bring the map of the circuit up, that's not an issue. Alright, what else have we got going on here then? Yeah, nobody's really pushing all that hard, and yeah, they're just getting a feel for these medium tyres. And Fernando Alonso, top of the times there, 1/10 clear of Oscar Piastri, looking good. Oh, this is another thing. I think the Aston Martins will be quite good this weekend, because Aston Martin, if you remember back, probably their best weekend of the entire season so far has got to be Imola, I would say. At least the glimpse of performance they showed at Imola. And Imola and Zandvoort and Imola and Suzuka are all very, very similar circuits, similar style circuits, narrow circuits, old school Formula One circuits, zero margin for error, not much gravel traps and stuff like that. So I think that because they are very similar circuits and you require similar levels of downforce and stuff like that in all of them, I think Aston Martin are going to be doing quite well this weekend. So we'll see what happens. That's a very similar reasoning for why I think Red Bull and Max Verstappen is going to put together a good lap, good weekend good lap in quali and a good weekend overall, is just because the circuit characteristics suits them a little better. And Suzuka, Verstappen put together a great lap. Same thing he's really expecting to do here as well, in front of his home fans. We'll see if it can be done, but who knows? Fernando Alonso, with Adrian Newey next year, who knows what happens with Fernando Alonso? But who knows what happens with Williams as well? Alex Albon, top of the times, a 10th clear of Fernando Alonso. The times are really going to be tumbling here in Zandvoort as the circuit grips up and there's a lot more running that gets done and the Pirelli rubber gets deposited onto the circuit. We will see a lot more the track speeding up. But regardless, Williams are also on the up. They got James Vowles as team principal, a man with a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge, and I would say he's very, very smart as well. So, Williams' sort of trajectory has been upwards. It's been very similar to what McLaren had as well. If you think back to McLaren, say in 2019, in 2020, in 2021, they were also they were making solid progress upwards. It wasn't always consistent, it wasn't always linear, but they were making progress up the field slowly but surely. And I think Williams is doing a very similar thing to what McLaren did before, pre-2021, before the regulation change. So maybe Williams have a good shot in 2026. But we've got Verstappen now top of the times in first position, 3.5 tenths clear of Alex Albon. All right. Oh, yellow flag. I don't know where the yellow flag is. It says it's at track sector 15, which I presume is around turn number 10, but looks like someone might have spun. Where to watch Formula 1? Formula 1, you can watch it using Surfshark VPN. The link is in the description. You join. Oh, red flag. Okay, looks like it's a big crash. Someone's in the wall. Tsunoda. Is it Tsunoda? Yeah, there's a lot of. Someone's crashed. Yeah, it's Tsunoda. Tsunoda's crashed at turn number 11. Into the gravel trap you go. Oh, I'll just show you on the onboard. In fact, turn number 11 is this corner here. So you start off your flying lap here, and this is turn number 11. And if you miss your braking point, you go straight off into the gravel trap, and game over, really. So Tsunoda's fine. It's a red flag. His car's beached in the gravel, but in fact, let's go around. Let's just go back here. So yeah, you're coming down this back straight here. You have got your DRS open and you hit the brakes. If you hit the brakes, you've got to brake and also steer at the same time, very close to the apex of the corner. If you do lock the front, what happens is, your trajectory is straight into the gravel trap. If at this point you lock the front tyre, you're just going straight on. I think that's what happened to Yuki Tsunoda, and into the gravel trap he went. And okay, Kimi's beached it. Okay, so Tsunoda's made it into the pits. Kimi has beached it. Apologies there, folks. With the track map not working. Hopefully, with this red flag, we get a little bit of respite with the track map not working. But yeah, Kimi Antonelli is in the gravel. Tsunoda managed to get out. Apologies for the mistakes there, folks. Not been an ideal start to the second half of the season, but. Yeah, looks like there's no damage there for Kimi. He's just managed to stop just before the barriers, and his car should be okay. But he's stuck in the gravel, and there's going to need to be a tractor to get him out. So much for the Kimi hype. Yeah, it's Kimi has been performing all right, shall we say. It's not been outstanding from the get-go, but he's shown moments of brilliance like that podium in Canada, and maybe he'll be able to do something different, maybe second half of the season he'll be consistently making improvements. But that's the thing, really, as a rookie, nobody's really expecting you to come in, hit the ground running and destroy your teammate, especially not George Russell. But your aim as a rookie is to keep improving, to keep learning, and to not make the same mistakes again and again. And as long as Kimi Anthony doesn't make the same mistake again this weekend, doesn't lock up going to the gravel trap, I would say that's a success. You expect rookies to make mistakes. It's sort of the process of learning, and you have to make mistakes to learn. And yeah, Kimi Anthony is going through that, as are all of the rookies. And yeah, George Russell does set a very high bar of expectation. Russell is the driver that did beat Lewis Hamilton last year, and of course Charles Leclerc is doing the same. But of course Russell, Leclerc, they are at their peak in Formula One. They've had their years of experience. They are still young enough to have all of the pace that they will have, and they're performing at the top of their game. So it's pretty unfair to compare Kimi Antonelli to George Russell, especially in his first season of Formula One. And considering that comparison has still been made quite frequently, Antonelli isn't faring too badly against George Russell. Right. Antonelli cannot rejoin the session as well, because he has beached the car, and he has... And then you're going to need a tractor to bring him out. Antonelli will not be taking part in the rest of this session. We'll have 45 minutes left, but yeah. All right. Let's see. Is the track map going to work? Let's give it a quick refresh. Maybe. If not, I'm just going to get an image of the Zandvoort circuit and stick that up for now. But yeah, really not ideal. Don't know how Formula One can mess this up so consistently, but here we are. All right, let's just get the image off Wikipedia. Alrighty then. Yep, looks like we've not got any track map for now, but should be fine. We'll get something sorted out soon enough. Yeah, Kimi has beached his car in the gravel, unfortunately. Not much that can be done about that. So yeah, I'll just be looking to get that sorted as soon as he can. Well, he won't be looking to get it sorted. It'll be the marshals that'll be looking to get it sorted. And yeah, it's really compromising on everyone's running, but it's not too much of an issue here because we have got 3 practice sessions, and because there are 3 practice sessions, you sort of get away with it. You're not losing out too much by having... Oh, all right, let's zoom this down a little bit. Oh. There we go. All right, we'll get this sorted onto the track there. But yeah, as of right now, nobody out on track because we've just had the green flag be declared clear, and the session is resuming in 1 minute's time. Yeah, Kimi Antonelli into the gravel trap he went, and we had Yuki Tsunoda managed to make it out of the gravel trap, but apart from that, it hasn't been the most eventful. Yeah, there's not much else that's happened in FP1 so far, so you haven't missed much. Okie dokie, folks. Yeah. They both went into the gravel traps. Kimi got stuck in the gravel trap. Tsunoda didn't. Yeah. Okay, so cars should be coming out onto the track very soon now. Green light in 30 seconds, as you can see there from George Russell's team radio. Lewis at a 360 first. Yeah, I mean, this is... Unfortunately, I haven't been able to keep track of all of this. So, yeah, I really apologise for the sort of disjointed commentary here. Not been the best look for any new fans, but we'll try to do better. All right, 40 minutes left on the clock, and the drivers are making their way out now onto the circuit. Pit lane exit is open. We've got Sainz on the exiting the pit lane. So is Alonso. So is Norris. So is Leclerc, Bortoletto, and Russell. We're getting them back out onto the track. It's quite windy out there in Zandvoort. As you can see, the wind is 8.3 kilometers per hour, blowing from the southwesterly direction. That's going to give the drivers a bit of a tailwind going into turn number 1. And it is also... Oh, there we go, folks. Track map is working, finally. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are so back. All right, we're going to have to pause the track map for around 20 seconds or so. So once the data's going to pause for 20 seconds, so to make sure that it doesn't disappear again, and just to make sure everything is synced up. But we are back, ladies and gents, and we've got all of the data. So brilliant to see. All right, here we go then. And 3, 2, 1, and we should be going. There we go. Very, very nice. Okie dokes. So, and also the fact that the track map wasn't working for us today, folks, is also a very, very big issue because the teams also use the exact same system. So I'm not sure how the drivers are sort of communicating, saying, oh, or the engineers were communicating over the radio saying, oh, watch out, there's a driver behind you, because the engineers use the same data that we do. And if they can't see what's going on, then how are they going to tell the driver, oh yeah, check out, watch out in your mirrors, we've got Norris approaching. So that would have been interesting for the engineers, and the drivers will have to just stare at their tiny little wing mirrors that they've got tiny visibility out of, to have a to try and figure out if there's traffic behind them. But now we've got the data back. Lewis had a spin at turn 3. Yeah, turn 3 also we've seen, I think, who was it had a spin? I think Vettel had a spin, or Danny Rick had a spin at some point when we were racing here before. Yeah, turn 3, because the thing is, at turn number 3, you go through turn number 1, that's quite, your car's quite planted through there, but then you go over a crest through turn number 2, which sort of, lifts your car a little bit up into the air, and it doesn't lift it up into the air per se, but it gives you less grip, and the rear of the car especially gets quite light. And then you've got a car that's already sort of dancing about as you're exiting turn number 2. If you go into turn number 3 with a sort of unstable rear end, very easy to spin out. And Lewis Hamilton has done that. Not the best confidence it'll have in the Ferrari car. As we know, it's just not that good. But it is what it is. What was the pole lap for last year? Actually, let me get that up because I forgot about that. Actually, normally I've remembered to put it up, but I shall have a look. Also, folks, I have released merch. There is that linked in the chat. So do let me know what you think of it. I'm currently wearing the merch. It's 100% cotton, the t-shirts and everything. It's quite nice quality, and I'd really, if you guys are interested and like the designs, then go ahead and, buy some merch. So it helps out the channel, and you actually get something in return rather than sort of just donating into nothingness. Last year's pole time looked to be, I think, a 109.673. Yeah, 109.673. So I'll just stick that up on the screen as well. Where have we got that? All right. Give me a sec. Okay, there we go. We have got last year's poll time up as well. Brilliant. And we've got 4,000 people tuning into the stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in as well. Brilliant. All right then. So Verstappen's out on soft tyres. Verstappen always hits the ground running. This was another thing. I was watching a podcast in the summer break between Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Rosberg, and Ricciardo was sort of talking about the fact that Verstappen never had any sort of build-up process to going out onto the circuit and setting quick lap times. It was always go out onto the track, and as soon as you're out onto the track and your tyres are warmed up, start pushing as quickly as you possibly can. A lot of other drivers have this sort of build-up process where they, gather knowledge on which parts of the circuit have grip, which parts don't, where your braking point should be, slightly pushing your braking points later and later and later, and accelerating slightly earlier and earlier and earlier. But Verstappen just goes out there, hits the ground running, and is immediately on the pace. So that is quite interesting there from Max, and quite interesting insight that you get from Daniel Ricciardo. And yeah, we'll see what Verstappen can do. His first sector looks pretty good. His middle sector, not so much. He did have a bit of traffic, and we'll see how he does in the final sector. But yeah, I'm sure Max has just got back from the summer break. He's like, oh, I haven't driven one of these cars in ages. I want to go out and attack. And the team's just like, sure, do whatever you want, because if it wasn't for you, we would be last in the Constructors' Championship. Yeah. All right, there we go. Verstappen improves 111.986, and he goes second quickest in the final sector. It's pronounced Ricciardo, not Ricciardo. Okay. Apologies. Yeah. Ferrari just testing their setup. Yeah, I mean, Ferrari will also, all of these teams will be testing their setup, because that's the thing here. As all of the teams know, the lower that you can bring your car to the ground, the more performance you're going to get. And the teams will try out every single trick in the book that they can to try and lower their car. And Ferrari are doing the same thing, really. They're trying everything out. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it results in spins. Oh, Verstappen isn't out on softs, it's actually mediums. Again, the data is just having a field day, really. So, interesting. I'm going to have a quick sip of water here, folks. We've got 35 minutes left on the clock. Currently, Verstappen up in first position, Russell in second, Lando Norris in third, and Fernando Alonso up in fourth position in the Aston Martin. Piastri currently on a flying lap here, with a purple first sector. Sainz purple in the final sector as well. The Williams are looking pretty nice. Alright then, here comes Piastri out of the final corner. What can he do? Across the line goes Piastri, first place by 0.2 of a second. The McLarens have still got it, and clearly Oscar Piastri has as well. Very nice to see. Alright. It's pronounced Hülkenberg. Indeed it is. We've got Stroll up into 8th position. Nicely done. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. I think the Aston Martins are going to be quite good this weekend, given that it is a circuit that suits their car, and they've done well at similar circuits in the past. Okay, let's see what the Ferraris are doing. I mean, Ferrari's tyres are extremely old there, folks, so don't read into that too much. However, Piastri is also out on an old set of tyres. His tyres are 9 laps old, yet he goes 0.2 clear of Max Verstappen, so clearly some solid pace there from Piastri, and yeah, the McLaren team is, of course, very, very happy with how things are going. Norris's P5. Yeah, I mean, Norris will also do a quick lap soon enough. Or Norris's tires are Norris is currently in the pit, so maybe he's coming out on a fresh set. We'll see what he's doing. But yeah, Piastri also, struggling with a little bit of oversteer, and it's difficult to get a balance around here because you do need a lot of front grip through some of these corners. Going through turn number 7, going through turn number 8, you want the car to really bite, because if you can get the turn in and not have any sort of understeer, you can carry so much more speed through those corners. You want the front end to be sharp and snappy, but then that comes at the compromise of having a lot more oversteer going through the slow speed corners when you're getting onto the power, like turn number 10, like turn number 12, and it's a balancing act. Some drivers can deal with a little bit more oversteer, some drivers can't, and you have to drive the car differently as well. If you have an understeery car, you'll take slightly different lines to if you have an oversteery car, and we'll really just have to we'll see what the drivers do. But the drivers, they have all of the telemetry, they've raced at this circuit before, they know which lines to take, and yeah, they're just getting to grips with the car again after having not driven it for a month or so. Colapinto is probably terrified of turn 6. Yeah, I mean, turn 6, a little kink in the road, but I don't know how much downforce the Alpine has. No, the Alpine will definitely be able to make it flat through turn 6. 7 is a much bigger issue, though. And yeah, you really do need confidence and commitment through turn number 7. In fact, I'll take you through an onboard lap here. We haven't got too much team radios coming through, so let me just move the onboard back down to the bottom of the screen. And yeah, we'll go through the onboard lap of the circuit, and then we'll get the team radios back up. So let's play this. All right. So, to get a smooth run into the final corner, that's your main aim really when you're starting the flying lap. Make sure your tyres are a little bit warm as well because you're flat for the next 10 seconds or so they'll cool down over the course of the straight, and you need to take that into account when you're warming them up. Same thing for your brakes as well. And you just hug the inside line here. Now find the track, the part of the track that's got the least possible bumps. Oh, Norris purple in the first sector. It looks like he's got an actual set of soft tyres this time. And then you go very deep into the braking zone of turn number 1. The camber really helps you out through there. Stroll up into fourth place on a used set of mediums. That's very good from him. Through 2 now, you can see this little crest, and I lose the rear of the car there. A little snap. You take the outside line on the exit of 3 because it allows you to get on the power much, much earlier. Then through 5 and 6, these are little kinks in the road, not really an issue. Now, turn number 7 here, a little dab of the brakes, flick the car to the right, and hope that it sticks, really. And then turn number 8 again, tap of the brakes, flick it in. 9, you've got a lot of braking and steering at the same time, so it's very easy to lock up there. And then you continue on towards turn number 10. You've got a DRS detection point there. Oh, Norris purple in all 3 sectors, a second and a half clear. Oh my God, Lando Norris, wow. Yeah, and then you're going through turn number 11 and 12 here. It's fairly standard. You don't want to run too wide on the 11 because you need to get a good run through 12, and then you carry as much speed as you can through turn number 13. You're flat through 14, and that is a lap of Zandvoort, folks. Let's see what Piastri can do, though. Piastri purple in the first sector. He's not no slouch, and he's not giving this one up quickly. So he goes about half a tenth quicker in the first sector. He loses a tenth and a half in the middle sector compared to Norris, but he's got the final sector left to go. If his tyres aren't overheating too much, he can get a nice run out the final corner. He's not got any slipstream, no DRS or anything in front. Well, he will be using DRS, no slipstream though. And across the line, he's half a second back. Oh my goodness me. It is, what is that? He loses a tenth and a half in the middle sector, and then also ends up losing a tenth and a half in the final sector as well. Wow. Great lap there from Lando Norris, I must say. And Piastri loses a significant amount of time in the final sector, to be honest. And this is the other thing here, folks. I mean, we've sort of got used to seeing this, but if we look at the sector leaderboard here on who's the quickest in each sector, it's such a familiar sight just to see the first 2 just being filled by the McLarens. You can't see it on your screen, but on my screen I can see Sainz is 3rd quickest in the first sector, Verstappen is 3rd quickest in the middle sector, and Albon is 3rd quickest in the 3rd sector. So, the Williams are looking pretty good in the 1st and 3rd sectors. The middle sector not so much, but in the 1st and 3rd sectors they've got some reasonable pace, but McLaren's just dominating at the top. No one else can even get close. Yeah, Oscar probably did get a little bit of traffic, probably wasn't helping, but regardless, 4/10 of a gap is still a pretty hefty margin to work with. If we're looking at the Constructors, the Drivers' Championship, there's only 9 points between these 2 drivers. If Norris finishes in first, Piastri in second, then that 9-point gap is going down to a 2-point gap, and we'll have 9 races left to go. So who knows what will happen. But we got the drivers out on soft tyres now, so should be getting some more running here. And yeah, should be getting some more quick laps as well. So we'll see what Verstappen can do. Russell currently on a quick lap here. And, I think he's backed out of it. Yeah, some traffic issues for him. Oh, Nico Hulkenberg up in 3rd position. Oh my goodness me. Great lap there from Nico. And yeah, fantastic. We got Colapinto up into 9th, and brilliant. Yeah, in fact, on my merch website, I've got a Nico Gothenburg shirt for his win in 2020 in the British Grand Prix. Not the win, sorry, a podium. Everyone just considered it as a win. It was just so fantastic. Bortoletto up in 4th position as well. Kick Sauber have got some pace out of nowhere. Good to see. I don't know how that's happened. Actually, Russell didn't hit traffic. I think he just got boatloads of understeer and then oversteer, and then decided to abort his lap. So, correction there, folks. And Leclerc up into 4th position. They're splitting the 2 Kick Saubers. The Kick Saubers, which are powered by the Ferrari car, the Ferrari engine as well. So, should probably point that out. I don't know how that's happened. They put in the hour power unit too early. Oh no, Audi power unit too early. Well, if you've got an Audi car and you're playing kerosene in the background, then who knows? Maybe we'll be getting pole position from the Audis next year. As long as kerosene is playing. If you guys get the reference, then do let me know. All right, we got Sainz up into third place. Great lap there from Carlos Sainz, and clearly, showing that the middle sector doesn't matter too much. If you're quick in the first and the third sector, you can get the middle sector. You can get away with having a bit of a slow middle sector. All right, Max is out of the pits now. Oh no, Max is in the pits now, so he'll be coming out of the pits shortly. All right. Oh, they're coaching Lando Norris over the lines to take through turn number 2. They were looking at the onboards here, comparing to what they did last year. Very, very interesting. All of the engineers, you think it's just talking over the radio, but a lot of their work is just going through previous onboards, looking at what other drivers are doing, looking at what current drivers are doing, looking what they did in previous years, what lines they took, and then telling that to their drivers and telling them to take different lines, see what works for them. Is Kimi's GPS broken? No, Kimi actually DNF'd. This session, he beached his car in the gravel and then unfortunately was out of the session. So, yeah, Kimi not driving for free practice 1, but he will be back for free practice 2. All right. Piastri purple in the first sector, very, very nice. And Hulkenberg gets out of the way as he makes his way through turn number 8. Let's see what Piastri can do now. Tsunoda's also on a push lap. Verstappen is still in the pits. And we have got who else on a quick lap? Ocon comes across the line. That's 15th position for him. And Albon up into third place as well. So Williams have got some genuine pace. Admittedly, I don't look at the gaps. Just look at the fact that Williams are third and fourth. Don't mind the fact that the gaps are a full second. That is just outright ridiculous how quick the McLarens are. But yeah, Piastri loses time in the middle sector again, actually. I don't think he's too confident in the middle sector here, is Piastri. He improves overall, though. It brings the gap down from 0.4 to 0.3, but still some work to do in the middle sector. And, probably some work also on the tyre warm-up front. If he can understand how to warm up those tyres properly, get them in the correct window, that will really help him out. Alonso up into third position, and he's not actually that far off. The gap between Albon and Norris is 0.9 of a second. Alonso, however, only 0.5 of a second. That's a pretty big improvement. Nearly half the gap there does Fernando Alonso. This weekend might be Aston Martin's weekend. Will it rain on Sunday? Unfortunately, I cannot tell you for certain. However, the rain forecast is suggesting around 20% chance of rain for the whole day before the race starts. So we could have another situation where the circuit is wet to start off with and then it dries out later on. We could have minor rain throughout the race, but as of right now, it's a little bit too early to tell. One thing that I can tell you, though, is that for free practice 2, we do have light to heavy rain forecast. It's something in that ballpark. It's a little bit difficult to predict when the winds are so unpredictable around Zandvoort, but we do have some rain forecast for free practice 2, so I'd recommend you guys tune in. You'll be getting some great action. Some drivers out on intermediate tyres, seeing what they can do. And yeah, Russell up into 5th position. They've finally hooked together a lap. Nicely done from him. And Verstappen, they're still in the pits, not coming out. And Norris as well. Antonelli, of course, he's not taking part as of right now. And Tsunoda, unfortunately, dead last. What is going on here for Yuki Tsunoda? Dead last. I mean, Verstappen isn't cooking that hard. But his previous lap, his quickest lap is on a set of medium tyres. He hasn't done a run on softs yet. So, I don't know. For his sake, I hope he wins his home race. Yeah, I mean, this season hasn't been great for Max Verstappen, to be honest. It'll be nice to see him win his home race in front of his home fans, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Maybe he's sat in the garage with some engine issues. Who knows? Okay, so we got 5,000 people tuning into the live stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Also, folks, I will be commentating for free practice 2, 3, and qualifying in the race as well. So, hope you guys will tune into that also. Yeah, and as you can see there, I don't know, some of you may have missed it, but at the top right of the screen, I am going to be doing a face reveal once the channel hits 200k. So be sure to subscribe and yeah, maybe we'll get the face reveal next weekend out in Monza. Maybe this weekend, depends how many of you subscribe. Should I buy F1 25 or 24? Well, to be honest, if they're the same price, I'd buy the newer game, but if they're not the same price, just buy whichever one's cheaper, because they're really not too different. Yeah. Liam Lawson up into 10th. I mean, I jumped from the F1 21 game to the F1 25 game, and realistically, the only difference was that the cars had a little bit more grip and the curbs were a little bit less violent. But apart from that, pretty much everything else was the same, and I preferred the F1 21 interface to the F1 25 interface anyway. So, yeah. Alrighty, we have got 21 minutes left on the clock, and currently top of the times we've got Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, but Max Verstappen is out on a fresh set of soft tyres here, so let's see what he can do. Also, folks, we will have 72 laps of racing around here on Sunday, which means it's quite a short circuit. I think it's around 4 kilometres or so, 4 point something kilometres, and that means that traffic is going to be quite the issue in qualifying, and it's also quite narrow as well. Quite a lot of blind corners, and you can't really see around the corners. You know, it's not opened and wide where you can look in your mirrors or look across the track to see other cars approaching. You just have to rely on your engineer and your mirrors. So we could be seeing some grid penalty issues, but we could also be seeing drivers getting blocked here. We've seen a few occasions in free practice so far, drivers nearly getting out of the way, nearly getting blocked. But we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. Max Verstappen improves in the first sector, but he is still... Oh my god, Verstappen is 6 tenths down in the first sector compared to Oscar Piastri. 6 tenths? What? And, yeah, his lap hasn't been... We'll see what his middle sector's like. Maybe, you know, his tyres were just a little cold in the first sector, and his middle sector's going to be a little better. Here he comes. He is... only 2 tenths slower, or 1.5 tenths slower than Norris in the middle sector, so not so bad there. The track is 4.259 kilometers. Thanks Nuclear in the chat. All right. Let's see what he can do then. He's coming out the final corner, across the line. It's 5th position, you know, not too bad. Loses pretty much all of his time in the first sector. The first sector is the biggest time loss, but 9 tenths of a second. 9 tenths of a second is huge, enormous. Oh my god. All right, well, let's see what Ferraris can do. They're really not cooking, I don't think. They are a 1.6 seconds back for both of them. They're within a couple of milliseconds of each other, but typically, you know, when you see two teammates within a couple of milliseconds of each other, that means they've extracted as much as they can from the car. You know, Liam Lawson, Isaac Hadjar, within a few milliseconds of each other. The Racing Bulls isn't really going to get that much quicker. You see Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton right next to each other. The car isn't going to get much quicker than that, at least in its current setup form, in its current, you know, fuel loads and its current tyre wear and stuff like that. But yeah, not great, is it? But off in the distance, what do we see? We see some rain clouds, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of rain clouds, dark, gloomy rain clouds, fast approaching the circuit. So I can just say that is good news, purely good news. The rain clouds should approach by free practice 2, should be on top of the circuit, should start precipitating water onto the track. So yeah, unfortunately, you know, in the remaining 18 minutes of the session, we're not going to get rain. However, free practice 2, we should be getting some rain. And yeah, again, some more issues with traffic. Lewis Hamilton just dodging out of the way of one of the Alpines. And it's a bit of a tricky situation at this circuit, very narrow. And yeah, the engineers and their drivers' communications a little bit rusty. They haven't had the most running, of course. I'm sure they don't do much practice in the simulator about traffic. I'm sure they just sort of wing it on the track. So yeah, they haven't done much practice in the past couple of weeks. So they'll be out of shape a little bit. Ferrari are sandbagging. Maybe they are, maybe this is the Ferrari master plan. They're sandbagging so they get more wind tunnel time in 2026, which means that they'll win the championship in 2027. That's clearly what it is, isn't it? Prediction for Sunday. Oh no, wait one sec. Charles Leclerc, my opinion is that we should focus on what we are doing now. We are miles off, like miles off. So Leclerc's long radio messages have already begun. We are not even 45 minutes into the weekend, and Charles Leclerc's already having long rants over the radio. Ferrari is so back, ladies and gentlemen, so back. Prediction for Sunday. I think Verstappen is going to be able to turn this one around. I think it's a little bit unrealistic looking at it so far, but I think he's going to put together a mega lap like he did in Suzuka. Suzuka, Zandvoort, very similar circuits, they're from around the same time frame and very old school, and we'll see what happens. I think Verstappen will be able to compete quite nicely. Also, another change, folks, here. The pit lane speed limit in Zandvoort previously was 60 kilometers per hour. It's now been upped to 80 kilometers per hour in an aid to reduce pit stop time and to help the teams maybe do a two-stop strategy. A little bit unlikely given how difficult it is to overtake in Zandvoort, but we'll wait and see. Pirelli have also brought a step softer tyres, which means that we will be getting more stops. So, yeah, great to see, really. Great to see. Should be getting a two-stop race, but of course if the rain falls, then all manner of chaos can happen. Alright. What else have we got going on then? F1 Gamer, since 2026 will not have ground effect anymore, Lewis Hamilton can start going back to his old style of driving, and I can see Lewis getting up to speed again. Maybe, there's been a lot of talk about whether it's Lewis Hamilton that is slow or whether it's the driving style of the car that is slow, and maybe I would also like to point out in 2026 we will still have ground effect. It's just not going to be to the same extent that we have ground effect this year, but I think it's also another thing to point out that it is part of a driver's skills and repertoire to be able to adapt to new conditions, to new driving styles, to new cars that they need to be able to drive. So yes, of course, as you get older, it's a little bit harder to learn and to adapt. We've seen back in, Fernando Alonso in 2005, 2006 had this really strange steering sort of method, and his way of steering that Renault in 2005 and 2006 was very, very odd, but it was the quickest way to do it. And because he was so young, he was able to adapt and stuff like that. And I think Alonso's still able to adapt, maybe because of the fact that his entire life is racing, but he also drives a big variety of cars. He's driven endurance cars, he's driven rally cars, he's driven Indy cars, and that involves constantly changing your style and approach to driving. So, maybe Lewis Hamilton, because he's just driven Formula One cars for the majority of his career and hasn't really ventured out into anything else, that adaptability skill that you do need is a little bit lacking. So who knows? Maybe Hamilton will be back. Maybe he won't. I still haven't really made up my mind on it. Right. Alonso deliberately oversteered going into a corner to generate heat in the front tyres that would then bite towards the apex and give him incredible turning circles and drive. It was genius. Yeah, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And, you grow up in your junior racing categories. Oh, I've got to be super smooth on the steering wheel and I've got to be very smooth on the brakes and all of this. And then suddenly you get into Formula One and you're stabbing the steering wheel to get the car to turn. Like, it is, that flexibility and adaptability is also a very important skill. Ferrari's downgrade working well, I see. Well, I'd like to point out here, folks, pretty much no team has brought any upgrade. We've got some minor tweaks for Sauber and Alpine for their rear brake duct, and we've got some very minor changes to the front wing again for Red Bull. But apart from that, everyone else has got no more upgrades to their car, and it will be smooth. Well, pretty much no upgrades right to the end of the season because everyone's focusing on 2026. What is the best race you've commentated? There's been quite a few good races, haven't there, in the recent couple of years. Nico Hülkenberg's podium obviously stands out. 2024 Baku as well. The battle between Leclerc and Piastri for the win. And of course, I hit 100k on that day as well. So that was a pretty special day to commentate. Yeah, I'd probably put it between those two, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, the 24 British Grand Prix was also pretty good as well. There was loads of different drivers competing for the win on that one. So, what P1 time should we be expecting in quali? Well, last year's pole time was a 1 minute 9.673. So, currently, the best lap that we've seen is a 1 minute 10. The cars should be getting around about a second or so quicker this year, or 8/10 or so quicker. So we'll be expecting maybe something in the 1 minute 8s, depending on, if the circuit stays rubbered in. If it starts to rain later on in the day, which it probably will, that means all of the rubber that has been deposited on the circuit has been speeding up all of the cars. It will get washed away. So then they'll be reset back to square one, and they'll be losing a lot of lap time again. So if the rain falls, the lap times are going to be totally drastically different. So I don't really know. Oh, Stroll getting blocked by traffic. Not ideal. I think it was Hulkenberg there. Yeah, traffic is a bit of an issue, and it's a little bit difficult to understand as well if the drivers are pushing or if they're going on a slow lap or what's going on. You commented Abu Dhabi 21. I did, but I would also say that probably wasn't my best commentary, but it was also a very good race, so I don't really know. Stroll got blocked by someone. I don't know if it was Yuki or maybe it was. Who knows? But Stroll and Yuki are on different parts of the circuit quite drastically, so anyway. 10 minutes left of the session, and the rain clouds are approaching quickly here, folks. Rain clouds are approaching quickly. Actually, yeah, no, Stroll did get blocked by Yuki. Apologies there for the mistake. Track record is a 1:8.885. Oh, thank you very much, Nuclear. I'll put that track record up as well once I get the chance. So, yeah, folks, if you haven't hit the like button as well, be sure to do so. It really does help out the channel. Will be good to get back in the sights of the YouTube algorithm after a month or so of not streaming or anything. I did put out a video, actually. Some of you may have seen it, some of you may not have, of some double-decker bus racing. So be sure to go check that out. It's in the channel page. It's quite fun, actually. It's only a 2 or 3 minute long video, but quite the exciting race. Yeah, we've got drivers all out on old tyres now, really. Nobody's really pushing. They're just gathering some tyre wear data as the track temperature changes. At the start of the session, it was around 25 or 24 degrees. Now it's up to 28, so that'll change things up. But Stroll improves on his lap after getting previously blocked by Tsunoda. He improves and he's up into third position. So very nicely done. And Aston's have got some real pace. If Ferrari can't get their act together, if Mercedes can't get their act together, if Red Bull can't get their act together, then Aston Martin might be there as second quickest team. Genuinely, this is one of the circuits that I was expecting them to do well at. They did well at Imola, and Imola is a very similar circuit to this. And if this performance continues, they genuinely could be looking at a podium here if the other teams can't improve. Ferrari, we've seen this happen in the past before as well. Ferrari, Red Bull, they'll look bad on a Friday, but overnight their test drivers will do a lot of work in the simulator and they'll turn things around for Saturday morning. So let's not get too excited, considering that we may get a Aston Martin podium or something. But if things don't go Red Bull's way or Ferrari's way, then things are looking good. Things are looking good. They are cooking. All right. Why are the drivers not improving? The drivers are out on old tyres, as you can see there. They're all out on, maybe 10, 15, 14 lap old tyres, and that's why they're not improving, really. The wind also is picking up here. You can see at 14 kilometers per hour, it really does have a very big impact. So I've got this this compass here. The wind is blowing from the southwesterly direction, as you can see here. So that means it's blowing across the circuit like this, pretty much parallel to the main straight. So the drivers going into turn number 1, they lose a bunch of downforce on the entry. However, they do a full 180, and then they've got a headwind. So they get a bunch of grip through turn number 2. Then on the entry to turn number 3, loads more grip. On the exit turn number 3, all of that grip disappears again. Then you go, in fact, wait, let me just get my mouse cursor up on the screen as well so you guys can get a little bit more of an accurate look. But yeah, they get a headwind through here, then a tailwind through here, lose all of the grip again. Then it's a crosswind through here. Again, a bunch of grip as you come through this part of the circuit. You lose all of the grip again as you go through towards turn number 9 and 10, gain the grip back. So you've very much got to be mentally aware of this wind that is changing your grip levels every single corner. And, if there's a bit of a gust, then that can also affect things. So it's quite the challenge for the drivers. But also, folks, did anyone actually come up with a reason for why the FIA can't just add a rule in for next year saying your cars have to be louder than 100 decibels or whatever it is? Because I think that's a great idea. No, just add into the rule book for 2026. Your engines must sound like 80 decibels loud when we are 30 meters away from it or something like that. And that way, the teams have to manufacture exhausts that sound super duper loud, and surely that would improve the sort of the experience of Formula One, especially for the fans that are there. Apparently people can sue the circus for being too loud. I mean, you probably could if you're in America, but also you could also just sign a contract, like when the terms and conditions for when you buy a ticket, it's like, oh, you may be subject to hearing damage because the car's allowed, bring ear defenders or whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure. The sub count has crashed. Oh yeah, give me a sec. There we go, that's updated. Just bring the V10s back. Yeah, I'd love to bring the V10s back. That'd be pretty nice, wouldn't it? You have my vote for FIA president. Well, thank you very much. I've got some more ideas to make the I've got some more ideas to sort of improve Formula One. You know, what you've got to do is add a second brake pedal, add in brake steer back into Formula One. Essentially what brake steer does is it turns the car, when you have a second pedal, you hit the brakes on it, and it will use the brakes to help steer the car, which reduces the effect of dirty air, makes it harder for the drivers to drive as well. You know, you've got to think about your brake pedal, your normal accelerator pedal, and then you've also got to think about the brake steer pedal. And you've also got to communicate to your engineer your strategy. Just one extra thing to think about, and then also maybe not get rid of the hybrid system, but still keep the V6s. Maybe have a V8 system. Lighter cars, smaller tyres, narrower tyres as well. Narrower tyres really help with making the cars quicker. Slightly smaller cars as well. Keep the halo, of course. But who knows? All right. I should probably make a video on this, on all my ideas to make 2026 the best season yet. Get rid of traction control. We don't have traction control actually here, folks. We do have throttle maps, which can act in a very similar way, but we don't have traction control. How do you feel about Bottas and Perez returning to Formula One with Cadillac? I think it's pretty good, really, that they're both returning. I think both drivers deserve to be on the field. They're both very, very quick. They've got a lot of experience, and Cadillac are definitely going to benefit from them being their drivers. So it's good to see. Of course, some people would prefer some more rookies coming through, but I think that'll happen in due time, you know, as maybe Fernando Alonso or Lewis Hamilton or Sergio Perez or Bottas, one of them decide to hang up their racing boots. We'll have space for some rookies to come through. You know, we've had a lot of rookies come through this year, so yeah, I think we have a good balance of rookies to old drivers. F1 Gamer, where's the DRS indication button? It used to be there. The DRS indication button is the one in race mode. So when we're in race conditions, we have the DRS button here with all of the strategy options and stuff. But in quali and practice mode, we have all of this extra stuff. I mean, you don't really need to know if they're using DRS or not, to be honest. Okay. The turbos take all of the F1 noise. I mean, maybe the turbos do, but also, if you give if you tell the Formula One teams that if your car is not loud enough, you will get disqualified, I'm sure they will figure out a way to make the car sound loud again. So, yeah, like these teams, these engineers are pure geniuses, and you could give them a seemingly impossible task, and they'll still figure out a way to do it. So. Yeah, I'm sure it could be managed. How is Leclerc in 14th? Ferrari are cooked, really. Ferrari are simply and totally cooked. Anthony's down there in last, of course, he had his issue and ended up in the gravel trap. George Russell nearly ended up in the gravel trap as well, but managed to find an escape road. He says sorry about that over the radio. Just goes deep into turn number 1 and, yeah, damages the floor a little bit there as well, but he should be fine. There's only 1 minute left of the session. The engineers will have time to check over the radio. No, check over the radio, check over the car before FP2 starts. All right. Yeah, 50 seconds left on the clock here, folks. F1 Gamer in 2026, is there a replacement for DRS? Yes, there is. It's called mode. It's like mom, overtake mom, or like mom mode or something like that. Like I think that's the official name for it. They're going to have to find a different name, because I'm not about to say over the commentary, right, oh, Max Verstappen activates mom mode to overtake Oscar Piastri. Like, this is not something that I'm going to be saying. So I really hope that they come up with a new name, because it sounds stupid. But yeah, we've got 10 seconds left on the clock, and the drivers are just going to be doing their practice starts now, and that's about it. He'll press the mom button. Like, yeah, this is just stupid. Like, yeah, all right. They should really come up with some new naming schemes. All right then, folks, that is the end of FP1. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure commentating to you guys. I'm going to carry on commentating till everyone does their practice start, but realistically, everyone's out on an old set of tyres. Nobody's setting the circuit alight with some purple lap times. Yeah. That's about it. At F1 Gamer, I think the F1 cars are already loud enough. I live in Baku and I've experienced the sound of the cars less than 6 meters, and it's enough to give seizures to a person. Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's well, I guess maybe they could just sound better then. A little bit more high pitched. Oh, that's the other thing that I was thinking. Basically, the reason why the cars don't scream up to like 18,000 RPM nowadays is because of the fuel flow limit. Like, the teams can't use that much fuel. They simply, like, the limit of fuel that they're allowed isn't enough to go up to 18,000 RPM. So surely for qualifying, what they could do is have they could change the fuel flow limit for quali, and they could say, oh, you're allowed to use as much fuel as you want in quali. You can go to as many RPMs as you want in quali as well, and the cars would sound super cool in quali. And then, yeah, sure, for the race you need the efficiency of running the cars in like a hybrid mode and stuff like that. But maybe that's an idea to consider. All right then, folks. Yeah, that's been about it. Everyone's sort of just crawling back to the pits now. Not much to look into. So I'm going to end the stream now. I'll take you over to the Free Practice 2 stream, and I will yeah, I'll be streaming for FP2 as well. So go ahead and click the reminder button, click the like button as well. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. It'll be good to get back in its sort of sights, really, for the session, especially with this little data hiccup that we had at the start of FP1. So hopefully that gets resolved. Well, that is resolved. So, but yeah, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the reminder button. I'll be commentating for Free Practice 2 and I'll be live in 2 hours' time. So yeah, look forward to seeing you then. And also, folks, we will be having rain, so you don't really want to be missing it. Even if you've got work or whatever, just turn the commentary on in the background, have a little listen, because I suspect we'll be getting some nice action from those thunderclouds that we saw earlier. Okie dokes then. Yeah, hit the like button, hit the reminder button. I'll see you in 2 hours. Bye-bye.